Remote villagers appeal for help after Morocco's earthquake destroyed homes. More than 2,800 people died, with the toll expected to rise.
Entire neighbourhoods swept away and 2,000 people feared dead. Flooding from Mediterranean storm Daniel devastates Libya.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un arrives in Russia, sparking Western fears about a potential arms deal with Moscow.
The extent of the devastation is becoming apparent as remote villages are reached by the outside world. With many small communities flattened, survivors are either burying their relatives or working to clear debris to recover more bodies. In this mountain village of Imin Ntala, at least 70 people are dead. Friday's earthquake, the strongest in Morocco in more than a century, killed more than 2,800 people. And survivors are demanding help, and quickly.
محقورين احنا وصافي داكشي اللي نقول ما لحقنا حتى واحد بغينا حنا السكنه بغينا فين يسكنوا هاد الناس مساكن اللي بينا داكشي اللي كاين
تيحفروا الناس ديال الدوار والناس اللي الشباب ديال الدوار والناس الكبار والناس اللي جايين من دواور بعاد شي شويه تعاونوا معاهم وتيحفروا غير بالمعدات الادويه.
The UN has been assessing the impact of the disaster on some of the most vulnerable, the children. UNICEF estimates that 100,000 of them have been affected. Like all major earthquakes, aftershocks are likely to continue in the days and weeks ahead, putting children and families at further risk. Morocco's government is under pressure to accept more international aid as rescuers battle with exhaustion. So far, it's accepted help from only 4 countries, Spain, the UK, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. But the United States, Tunisia, Turkey, Taiwan and France, a former colonial power of Morocco, are some of the nations which are also offering support.
A Qatari plane arriving in Marrakesh with much-needed supplies and help. They're assisting Morocco following last week's devastating earthquake, joining teams from Britain, Spain and the United Arab Emirates. As the window to find survivors races by, Rabat has made the controversial decision to only receive help from what it has described as these 4 friendly nations. There's been criticism of the slowness to accept assistance and its failure to welcome offers of aid from other countries. The decision has put the spotlight on King Mohammed VI, notably in France, which is home to some 1.5 million Moroccans or those of Moroccan origin. As volunteers in Paris on Monday collected donations for those affected by the earthquake, the French government tried to downplay the idea that it had been snubbed. With relations between the countries strained, France's foreign minister described the situation as a misplaced controversy, saying it was making €5 million available for NGOs operating in Morocco. And while some international organizations have been reluctant to criticize Morocco's decision, they have argued that more outside help will be needed to deal with the sheer magnitude of the disaster.
Entire neighbourhoods swept away. Libyan leaders fear as many as 2,000 people could be dead after Mediterranean storm Daniel caused devastating floods in the North African nation. Homes in multiple towns have been decimated. The destruction appears to be greatest in Derna, a city formerly held by extremists for more than a decade, leaving it with crumbling and inadequate infrastructure. Health authorities say the confirmed death toll from the weekend's flooding stands at 61 as of late Monday, but that tally does not include Derna, which has become inaccessible. Many of the thousands missing are believed to have been carried away by the flooding.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has arrived in Russia, where he's expected to hold a rare meeting with President Vladimir Putin. It's reported he's been accompanied by his top military officials. The visit has sparked Western concerns about a potential arms deal for Moscow's war in Ukraine. It's thought to be Kim's first foreign trip since the COVID-19 pandemic, which had forced the reclusive state to enforce tight borders for more than 3 years to shield its poor healthcare system.
Ukrainian and Russian sources described heavy fighting north of Donetsk airport, which has been a front line since Russian proxy forces took control of part of Donetsk region in 2014. Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar confirmed on Monday that Ukrainian forces liberated part of the village of Opytne. There it is here. The village is lying between Avdiivka and occupied Donetsk, around 3 kilometers north of the Donetsk International Airport, which saw heavy battles when Russian proxy forces attacked the area in 2014 and 2015. According to the Ukrainian head of Avdiivka Civil Military Administration, Vitaly Barabash, Ukrainian forces managed to gain a foothold here. Unofficial Russian accounts acknowledged a withdrawal from the area, meaning Ukrainian forces are drawing close to the Russian-occupied city of Donetsk. The Institute for the Study of War says Russian media bloggers claim that the situation in Opytne is not easy and that the fighting is ongoing in urban areas. Over the last few days, the UK Defence Ministry said as the elements of the Ukrainian armed forces have advanced into the multi-layered main Russian defensive line east of the town of Robotyne, here it is highly likely that Russia has redeployed forces from other areas of the front line to replace degraded units around Robotyne. These redeployments are likely limiting Russia's ability to carry out offensive operations of its own along the other areas of the front line. The Institute for the Study of War adds the commitment of some of the Russian military most capable formations for limited counterattacks in this critical sector of the front will likely attrit these formations further.
Germany's foreign minister makes an unannounced visit to Kyiv. She's promising support for the war-battered nation's path towards European Union membership, while calling for additional reforms, especially when it comes to corruption. Ukraine says Russia's war won't stop its anti-corruption efforts. For this, Annalena Baerbock praises the country, but says it still has a long way to go.
Denn auf dem Weg in die EU kann die Ukraine bereits Beachtliches vorzeigen, sei es bei der Mediengesetzgebung oder der Justizreform. Ein besonders dickes Brett ist der Kampf gegen die Korruption.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has put the brakes on sending missiles to Ukraine and has reportedly asked for technical modifications to the rockets to ensure that Kyiv's army can't use them to attack Russian territory. Back in Kyiv, Baerbock also pledged continued military, economic and humanitarian support for the country and said the 22 billion euros provided so far now made Germany second to the US in terms of total support.
The European economy continues to grow, but with reduced momentum. In its summer forecast, the European Commission revised growth in the Eurozone down to 0.8% in 2023 and 1.3% next year. That's 0.3 percentage points lower, respectively, than forecast in the spring outlook. Speaking to reporters in Brussels, EU Economy Commissioner Paolo Gentiloni said the sluggish growth trend was likely to continue into next year.
The weaker growth momentum is set to expand to 24. However, a mild rebound in growth is still expected as inflation continues easing and the labour market remains robust.
Weakness in domestic demand shows that still high consumer prices for most goods and services are taking a heavier toll than expected in the spring. This is despite declining energy prices and an exceptionally strong labour market. In the euro area, annual inflation reached 5.3% in July and August, exactly half of the peak level of 10.6% recorded last fall. But consumers need patience to fully feel the price decrease in their wallets, analysts say.
I think when we all go to the supermarket, we actually see prices that are very, very high. And therefore we conclude, instinctively almost, that inflation is very high. But actually, if you look at the numbers, inflation is coming down very fast. And that is because energy prices have come down from where they were last year. And then we also see that food prices are coming down, but they're coming down very, very slowly.
Russia's ongoing war against Ukraine and wider geopolitical tensions continue to pose risks and remain a source of uncertainty. In addition, concerted efforts by international central banks of monetary tightening to fight inflation could darken further growth prospects. In the words of the European Commission, the economic outlook remains challenging.
The annual gathering of UNESCO's Convention on the Protection of the World Cultural and Natural Heritage. The meeting is taking place in the Saudi Arabian capital Riyadh, where delegates will study more than 50 world sites that hope to be included in the coveted heritage list. UNESCO Director General Audrey Azoulay expressed her condolences to the Moroccan people following the devastating earthquake, which also damaged historical sites. Several cities in Ukraine threatened by war are among the 6 sites that could be declared in danger this year, joining 55 already on that watch list.
Le comité avait déjà inscrit Odessa sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en péril en janvier de cette année. Et voilà la raison pour laquelle maintenant il va continuer à examiner dans le cadre de cette réunion la situation de ces 2 sites que sont Kiev et Lviv.
He says Kiev's St. Sophia Cathedral and the historical centre of Lviv are in danger because of the Russian invasion. Venice is also being considered for inclusion as it is in danger from rising water levels attributed to climate change and the excessive number of tourists. And Israel is attending the meeting, marking the country's first publicly announced visit to Saudi Arabia, seen as a sign of possible future normalization of relations between the 2 countries.